Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying I know jack about the London system. So I'm hoping for some of you guys who have watched like Eric Rosen streams or Danny Naroditsky streams and tell me a little bit about the London. Oh, sorry, the Jobava London system. I played the London a couple times, but I never really studied it. I just kind of knew those were like the first 5 6 moves you play and some of the basic ideas. Jobava London is new to me, except I had watched like a couple Eric Rosen videos where he played this line with knight c3 to knight b5, and this is what I played in the game, and it worked out very well. It's This game definitely attracts me to the idea of adopting the London system and starting to learn how to play it. Especially look how smooth, like White just kind of kept a. It was pretty even at the beginning, and then slowly got a better advantage. And the computer says I played with 99% accuracy. I don't know if I've ever gotten that before, and only 7 average city pawn loss, which is kind of crazy. So maybe you guys can tell me where Black went wrong. I did a quick analysis before showing this video. I just kind of looked at the Masters database here, and one of the moves I played, it didn't actually show in the Masters database, which I was surprised by. So just to kind of get into it, just simple. I think you're supposed to start with Bishop f4, but the transpose is the same. They play this kind of g6 line, and I jumped right into knight b5, which I've seen Eric Rosen do a handful of times when he's playing Jobava London. The reason why I played it is because he just mentioned kind of casually about a Masters game that turned into a draw because Black was forced to play knight a6, and then they just kind of. I don't think it actually looked exactly like this. Actually, it was a position similar to this, but it gave White an opportunity to take here. In my game, he had a chance to move it out the way. So I guess the order was a little bit different. But the idea in the Masters game was that Black didn't want to allow this attack. So they kind of just repeated moves with knight b5 and I think knight b8 and knight back here. So they just got to draw that way. But we didn't go into a draw. Anyways, he moves his knight, which I think is an odd place for it. I couldn't figure out where the knight might be going, but I thought maybe here. It hit my bishop maybe. But it seemed like odd placement, so I took that as kind of a small victory, but I didn't know. And then I played h4. And I put it when I put it in the engine thing with the Masters database. H4 wasn't listed at all, and it's showing here. It says no games found, and I don't exactly know why because I was sure during the game that this is something I saw during one of Eric Rosen's games. I'm like, if he's playing it, why isn't it not showing? But maybe again even if the order changed, it should still show. But I'm guessing the move is supposed to be h3. That's the first move that shows up in the most played to prevent like moves like bishop g4, which happened, but I didn't feel too annoyed by bishop g4. I just played bishop e2, but maybe that seems a little bit passive. Again, I don't know. So if you guys got some ideas in the comments of how this is supposed to be played, please let me know. Because probably not anytime soon I'm going to study a full course on Jobava London. I'm really just looking for openings that are easy to play, easy to remember, and the ideas are kind of smooth. So it's like and ideas that you can explain to me like in less than a paragraph is ideal. He moved his knight here, which that felt a little strange. I think not by itself, knight h5 is. I think knight h5 makes sense to hit the bishop, but having the bishop here and knight here, I don't think I've ever seen that before. So it felt a bit off, but I didn't see anything like a way to punish it. So I was like, okay, the very least I can do is like trade off the bishops. I didn't like the idea of giving my dark square bishop up for this knight. I definitely like my bishop better. So if I'm going to give it up, I figure I'd give it up for this bishop, which of course, good defender for the king if he castles kingside. He plays f6, which felt like a concession to me, so I was like, all right, I'll take that. In the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know about positions if he plays e5 here, so this would be new territory for me, but I feel like I still had good chances because he's kind of opening up squares in front of his king. I moved back here. Didn't love that placement, but I was like, it seemed as good as any. I didn't really want to sit here and allow the trade here, so I figured move out the way. Yes, it's kind of blocking my rook here, to protect the pawn, but also his knight's kind of stuck in a bad place. It's got really nowhere to go here, so I was like, yeah, all right, then we'll go with that. Again, kind of an odd move. All his pieces are on the king side. I'm not really sure what they're trying to do. They don't really feel like they're working together too well, so I was like, I don't think I should be worried about that. But I did want to, maneuver around, trade some pieces. I liked this position here. I had like calculated to this point, I think like 3 moves ago, and I was like, all right, this is cool. I'll sit with that. And still here, like, we haven't really used that much time. This was a 10-minute game. He'll only use a few minutes. I've only used it, I guess 1 minute with a 5-second increment. So we're both kind of playing pretty quickly, which is what I like about this, at least so far. Like, this is not a very testing line. which is what I'm looking for. I don't really want to be spending so much time in the opening trying to figure stuff out. But maybe I should be. I don't know. So he has to maneuver his knight back, which I don't know how I felt about that one either. I feel like he has to do something with his knight. That makes sense because probably worried about this. But then this bishop is so oddly placed. So I feel like one day I could like attack it somehow, but because I feel like the bishop is probably supposed to here, and maybe e5 is supposed to come at some point. And he probably has a castle queen side, which I think he does later. So I did play that. I played g4. I was like, all right, let's go after it right away. I thought actually I'd castled first before doing that, but I don't see any pressure on in the center right now, so it's probably okay. All right, so he maneuvers his knight again. A lot of knight moves here, and now he's it makes sense. So if he were to castle king side, we would be kind of in a race of like he attacks my side, queen side, and I attack his king side. But I can see why he didn't castle king side because I've already got a head start on that side, so it really wouldn't make too much sense. So I just kind of start pushing pawns. I didn't really do a lot of calculating here. I was just like, all right, um, you know, this is probably going to work out. I figured since I'm castled, he's in the center. I find a way to open the position. That just seemed like a logical way to do it. It's interesting that the computer says it is okay to castle here. I don't think there's a world where I would castle here. That would be terrifying. All right, so he moves his bishop. Probably just didn't want to get hit with the tempo. I don't think even with the bishop there, I don't think I would have played this. I was aiming for something like this, but at the right time maybe. I don't know. I definitely want to break somewhere. So if I can get a file open anywhere, I'm pretty happy with that. Oh yeah, I did play that. See, I'm very, very consistent in my thinking. All right, so I hit the knight, moves back. Again, seems awkwardly placed. There is no castling kingside at this point, and I'm not going to trade off this pawn because that would be helpful to him in probably a couple different ways. It would alleviate a lot of pressure, so I just left it there. And now again, the idea of like opening up the position came to mind. Since the king is kind of stuck in the center at the moment, at least take him a couple moves to get it done. I thought that was strange. I don't really have a recommendation for what to do, but this pawn isn't really a threatening thing to me. I think I wasn't even thinking about wasting a move. I don't know if it'd be a waste, but I didn't even want to put in a3 because I figured if he did play here, then I could make a move like that, and it'd be hard for him to kind of get in because I can't really imagine his queen landing on b2. So I felt like that was a bit of a waste of time, a loss of tempo. And here, did I have this earlier? No. Okay, so I took here only because I figured, okay, one, I'm opening up this file for the queen and the rook to the king, but also this just straight up wins a pawn. Simple distraction, take, and then I win a pawn at the end. But the main point was pretty much just opening up the position so I can open up files and attack the king. The computer was like, yeah, you should probably just accept that you lost a pawn and put the knight in a more desirable square, but we ended up here. So I also got a tempo on the queen. A lot of threats to worry about because now if the queen was not protecting e7, then I got a mate right there. So he has to keep that in mind. And also this is a very forkable square. And if the queen ended up on a, well actually I guess he couldn't end up in a forkable square for the queen right now, but I was also looking for a fork square. If I landed here, then maybe I'm attacking the queen and the king at the same time. Or if like maybe the queen ended up here someday, maybe here. Or if I could fork the rook and the queen somehow, like if it landed there. Knights are tricky. All right, so this was kind of an easy tactic for me to find. I was like, okay, I wanted to bring my rook in anyway because I didn't really see anything concrete without bringing the rook in. And it would take a couple moves for my knight to come in anyway. So this was kind of a freebie for me. Can't take the knight because this is a quick mate. So I actually forgot that he could queenside castle at that moment. Yeah, that just slipped my mind, but this still felt like a great position. Pawns are not really in front of the king anymore. These pieces look really sad. And I also get this tempo move on the queen, which I play right now, because now if you notice, if he takes the knight, it forks the king and queen, which I thought he would have noticed. The game was pretty much over from this point. I think maybe it was just kind of a very frustrating position, and then like decision fatigue is a real thing. So if you're constantly defending, it's much harder to do than when you're attacking. So it can be easy to miss simpler tactics. But he definitely had time to figure it out. But I can see how it'd be overwhelming. I would definitely feel that way too. So it's pretty much over at this point. I could just kind of fast forward to the end, but I'd want a pawn here. And I like this move that he played to hit the queen because I was thinking, we'll see if the computer likes it. I was thinking if he played here, I was going to play this, take, take, and you see how the queen is still protecting the pawn and the bishop has nowhere to go. The computer does like it. Okay. So I was thinking that that was going to be the main idea because, I mean, save the bishop and get a check seems like a quick, easy idea to get it out the way, but it just doesn't work. But he saw it. Um, I just moved my queen out the way, figured it'd be on the same file as the king, hit the pawn. Probably wasn't really too concerned about the pawn. I was thinking of maybe one day, like, if he moved here, I can get a check in that also hits the rook in some way, but not sure. And this was a pretty easy find. So in this, in any position, really looking for like checks, captures, that kind of thing. So I was like, okay, I saw a check. King has no real good places to go. I think he saw that if he moved here, there'd be a lot of problems. But this just ended up in maiden one. So fun game. I was really surprised to see in the computer that it said 99% accuracy. I was kind of excited about that, which is why I'm making the video. Now I'm very interested in playing Jobava London, of course, since everything went so well, but I'm sure it doesn't always do that. Yeah, but I'm interested in what you guys think. Share some ideas with me. Like maybe there's some ideas that I missed that might have been maybe more efficient, more logical, or just different. What could Black have done that would have put up more resistance? Because yeah, if I'm playing as Black, I'd be curious what I'm supposed to do here. Obviously, like this is uncomfortable to have the knight on a6. Um, I don't know if there's really any better alternative because I do like to play these kind of fianchetto setups myself, so I wouldn't want to end up in this kind of bind either. So let me know what you think. Thanks.